Yeah, ready when you are.
It's about 30 minutes, so
I'll kind of wave when we have like 5 minutes to go. Does that work?
you want the lights off? Probably just flip some of these lights off so you can see more. That would have seen.
I'll call me more often.
Flip this back, so yeah. That'll work. All right. We're gonna do here. We're going to jump into defensive back play, and at Madison Southern High School, I'm the secondary coach, and what my focus is predominantly safety play. I also concentrate on corners as well, but for the most part, this is my main responsibility. We also have another coach, Coach Byron Smoot. His focus is on corners, but a lot of our techniques and the way that we play in the secondary translates from corner to safety at the same time. And there are substantial differences as well, but as far as if you're a corner or if you're a safety, a lot of this will work both hand in hand for you. So piggybacking off of what Coach Clark went over, he was talking about a progression and how you teach this material. Everything that you see from this slide down is basically a progression. It starts with the simplest of things as far as my stance with my kids, and it progresses all the way to, reads based off of formation and how I need to read and react based off a run read or a pass read. It gets from very fundamental, very elementary concepts to very complicated, more advanced concepts, second level type of material, which is what I hope to get to. And but I wanted to make sure we set a foundation here and make sure that all of our small things and details are taken care of before we advance. So as far as the first part of the progression, and Coach Clark, he said it, he expects his position groups to identify and filter that information down to the younger guys, and in our case, JV, freshmen, and even into the middle schools, how we want to teach the simplest things such as stance. Today, we went over stance and we taught basically our safeties and corners how to get in a comfortable stance, what exactly we're looking for. Like Coach Brewer said earlier, there isn't one specific way that like an end-all be-all type of stance. All right, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Our stance, my main concern is that our kids are comfortable within the stance itself. Okay, if your players are tight, if they're uncomfortable, if they're not real sure how to put their feet, if they don't know where to put their hands, okay, if there's any uncertainty or there's tightness, that creates a slow body. We're not moving as quickly as we can, and we're not able to react and close on ground and break up balls or get to the football or the ball carrier within the alley. So the body must be in a relaxed state. It must be able to easily transition from a rested position to a full speed, fast twitch movement. You're going to hear Coach Andy Clark, he's going to harp on, especially tomorrow, we've even discussed it, getting kids to be able to move their feet, open and turn and run. A lot of the drills that we did today were pedal backwards, learning how to direct my hips, keeping my feet within inside my framework and turning them over continually, stopping and redirecting. Okay, if you're a secondary player, you have to have the ability to stop, redirect, and accelerate at all times. Okay, you never really see a secondary player in a standstill. I'll show you some film with our guys. I get on to them all the time. Are you being efficient with your read steps, or are you just standing in one spot and you're just letting your eyes move and not your body? We have to continually talk about that. But like I said, tense body is a slow body. You want to eliminate wasted movement. One of the things that I think Coach Smith last year, Chuck Smith, he harped on a lot was eliminating wasted movement, eliminating false steps. Okay, am I taking a forward step before I'm taking a backward step? All right. If you're doing so, then you're slowing your progress down to the landmarks that you need to get to. So false steps slow your progression, no matter the position, whether that's linebacker, defensive end. We're trying to always take effective, progressive steps to where we want to be. You must be highly detailed in your technique. Specific movements must be second nature. Coach Clark talked about the riding your bicycle and you're putting training wheels on. You know, we harp on stance all the time. Every single day that I show up to practice with my kids, I put them in a stance first and foremost. I want it to be second nature to them. I want it to be, okay, I'm not consistent every time that I come to line up. I want the same stance every single time, and my first step out into my pedal is going to be the same every single time. If I'm not consistent, I'm slow, and I begin to take what we call these wasted movements or false steps. Maximizing speed. With the correct stance, we were able to create an explosive first step. Proper footwork and hip movement place us in the position to make plays. Proper position meaning, and for the secondary, it's all dictated by coverage. You know, and today, you know, we did a little 3-on-2, and I hope to progress to more coverage concepts. But you know, where is your pre-snap alignment if I'm a free safety? Okay, where are my threats? Pre-snap, I'm going to get to my depth, but I have to scan the field and identify where my most threats are. Okay, where is their best receiver on the field? Okay, you can't just come up, line up over top of the center of the quarterback, and I know I'm the free safety, I'm reading the quarterback's eyes. Okay, it's much more than that. Where are the majority of the threats? Who do they like to go to? What's the down and distance? All right, what part of the game is it? Where is the ball on the field? Am I on the right hash, left hash, into the boundary? You know, there are a lot of things that you have to register as a safety and understand what's going on in front of. To me, I feel like safety is very difficult to play because you're on an island. You're backed off the ball. You're back here by yourself, and you have a tremendous amount of space in front of you. Linebackers are more at an advantage because essentially they're playing in a 5-by-5 box, aren't they? You know, they either move left or right, downhill into a gap. They have gap responsibilities. Safety, I'm backed up, and my vision is extremely large. And it's a lot of information to take in at the same time. How do I digest all that information and use that to my advantage is what makes you an effective safety. All right? If I just come out here and aimlessly don't know what I'm looking at and I'm just reading and reacting, okay, you're not going to make nearly the amount of plays. You have to understand, we always talk about assignment, alignment, attack. Assignment meaning, okay, what coverage am I in? What is my true assignment? What are the men around me doing? Okay, and understanding, you know, what's my corner on my left side have? What's his responsibility? Okay, what's my responsibility? What's the opposite safety's responsibility? Alignment, meaning, okay, I've identified maybe I have a 2-by-2 look or I have a 2-by-1. Where are my most threats? So how am I going to align based off of what is in front of me? So if I have 2 receivers, should I scoot over to the 1 receiver side or should I bump more over towards the hash where the most threats are? And then, of course, once the ball is snapped, how do I attack that assignment and alignment? Okay. Consistency must create a movement identity, and that's the training wheels thing. You know, muscle memory, the same steps every single time. That's across the board at any position. I talk about this continually with our secondary. But then your stance, feet. We talked about this earlier in practice. What we like to talk about, I always say, I have a strong foot and I have a smart foot. Okay, smart foot is the foot that is your dominant foot. I always like to have that to be my back foot, and my strong foot is going to be my front foot, which is my non-dominant foot. So I'm right-footed. My back foot is going to be my right foot, and my strong foot's going to be my left. Okay, so I'm in a stagger foot or toe-to-heel relationship with my feet. I don't want to be any wider, okay, than underneath my armpits. I want to be virtually about shoulder width, okay? Shoulder width. If I get any wider, what happens is my first step is a wobble step, and it's a slow step backwards, okay? I want to be up underneath my body, so my first step is directly back, all right? And my butt is up, okay? If I sit down, all right, and my butt is closing my legs off, this is not a powerful first step because I'm not able to reach as much. So like Coach Brewer was saying, when quarterbacks, okay, if their feet are facing this direction and they're trying to step here and throw, you know, they're taking that half step or that rocker step here and they're still getting a little bit on it, but they're not able to open their hip and throw the ball. Same concept with your pedal, all right, if I drop my hips past my knees, okay, I can't step with power with that first step. So I'm going to open them up a little bit, flatten my back, butt up, okay, toe-to-heel relationship with my feet, and my weight's on the balls of my feet, so I'm going to press and pedal out. You don't want to close your legs off, if that makes sense. Any questions over that? Yes?
You always have the same stagger, even no matter what side you're on?
No matter what side. I just tell my kids to keep it consistent.
Okay.
Always have the same feet. Now,
so the reason for having,
like we said earlier, there are some coaches that if you're on the right side or depending on like where you're at, you may switch your feet. But I like to just create a consistent first step, fast, effective pedal.
So the reason for having the dominant foot back is to push off that in the first step.
Right, because with our first step, which I'll get into in a second, it's more of a 3/4 step. So we talk about like read steps, or from an offensive line perspective, what your pop step, coach?
Yeah,
is
you guys pop step your first
yeah,
step.
it's well, our read step is basically virtually a 3/4 pop step that just gets us back. It just starts our progress back. Now, the year before, we did something a little bit different where it was more of a bounce read step. So we would be here, but instead of taking that 3/4 step into a full pedal step, we would just pop, pop, then pedal. But I found our kids just sitting and waiting. I wanted to get them more depth and put them in a better position to get depth and break at angles and be more effective in the pass. Once you pedal them out, all right, and we'll get into what we're reading girlfriend, mama-wise, or just in-man on the line of scrimmage to help identify run or pass. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But you may sacrifice that first step pedal, getting depth, because you're losing ground to help in the run game. But I would rather be a half step later down into the box than, you know, multiple steps late trying to get over top and help in the passing game. And it, like I said, it's all dependent on your coverage. So you have a stagger foot. Your weight distribution should be evenly distributed on your balls of your feet. Okay, your body. Within your stance, your chest is over top of your toes. You always want your weight forward, and we discussed this in practice today. I always want to stand, or when I pedal, my chest is over top of my toes, because as soon as I raise my shoulders or I open my chest, my momentum begins to come back, all right? I'll rise and I'm slowing down, and I'm also working backwards, and I'm going to end up on my rear end if I'm not careful. So we always try to keep our weight over top of our toes. Staying on a low plane, and what I mean by that is when I'm pedaling, all right, I don't want to start low and then get really high. And what you'll see is if you're stiff-hipped, okay, if you're stiff-hipped where you go to turn and open and run, a lot of kids and a lot of people have a tendency to reach and get tall. When you do this, you're slowing down. You want to be able to stay on that level plane, boom, open, reach, and run and break on an angle. Or staying low, if I'm breaking downhill, drop and recoil my hips and explode out, being a knee bender, being explosive and staying low to drive forward. Things that we continually hop on is just staying low, playing with leverage. The body should be at a 45-degree bend. You don't want to round your back. You want it to be a flat back. And like we said, your butt should be up, not real far up, but it should be up so you're not limiting the movement of your legs. Arms, and I see this a lot. Kids will get up and they'll cock their arms out to the side, okay? Arms should be nice and relaxed, especially at safety. Now, once you get up into press coverage and things of that nature, things are going to change, okay? You're going to do some things that are different with your hands, but for the most part, when I'm in a stance, my elbows are tucked to the body, okay? Thumbs are up, but I'm nice and relaxed. So my first step, when I pop step, I'm driving that elbow, okay, and working backwards. I don't want them out here, so my first step comes in and then back. It's more of a wasted movement. You want everything to work in unison so you can create as much speed and move efficiently as possible. From a corner's perspective, okay, like your hands are probably your best friend. Okay, even safeties, when you go to close ground and you create contact with an oncoming receiver, so if it's number 2, if it's the tight end running down the seam, being able to get your hands on the offensive player and make them uncomfortable, make them adjust, and basically create space for themselves, all right, is what we're trying to do. I never want to just not use my hands at all because I have a fear of creating like a pass interference call, okay? Defenders have as much right to the football as the offensive player does. If we can use our hands, okay, rerouting, like today, I think, like Elliot, I told you when you were down in linebacker level, you know, we continually or always want to reroute number 2 if he pushes vertically on us. If you're a linebacker, you're that down rover inside the box. We don't want to give him a free release because it really puts your free safety in a bind, okay, because he's running straight. At free safety's pedal, 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 oh crap, he's coming directly at me, they're going to hit him down the seam, I don't have time to react. If you're able to reroute and use those hands that we're talking about and be aggressive, okay, it gives my free safety more of a chance. It's the same thing for corners in a press technique, okay. If I just bail out and I never touch him and I never use my hands to reroute, okay, now he's free releasing and he's comfortable in his route. I want to create an uncomfortable environment for that receiver at all times, all right? And that starts with using your hands. So rerouting collision, whether that's breaking up the ball, we use what's called a hip and hands, basically. I'm looking hip, I'm chasing hip. As soon as the hands go up, I'm playing hands as well. Okay, so if the ball, if I'm a corner and I'm chasing the receiver down the field and I'm on his hip, that's when I'm on his hip. And as soon as his hands do, what's happening when the hands go up?
Ball's coming.
Ball's coming. Ball's there, right? Okay. So come here for a second. What we teach as far as just disengaging from the ball, okay, stay right here beside me. So say I'm the corner and you're the receiver, okay? Ball's over your left shoulder, you're eyeing, okay, and we're about 20, 25 yards downfield, the ball's arriving, you shoot your hands. Well, we teach our kids to disengage. We're playing hip, I'm chasing his hip. As soon as I see his hands go up, I am delivering my hands up and through his to break up the ball, okay? I'm not coming over the top, I'm coming up from underneath and ripping the arm down. So shoot your hands again, I'm hip to hip, I'm boom here, pull the hand down and disengage him from the ball, okay? Whatever it takes. If I can just pull his arm from the side, if I can get my hand on the ball just to disengage, I'm not necessarily looking for an interception every time, I'm just looking to get some type of fingertip where it makes him uncomfortable and makes it hard to complete that type of pass, okay? Good job.
I think that's a very good point you're making. That when the arms go up, like you can basically catch it without watching.
And a lot of our kids, and it's extremely difficult to get them to understand. 5, 6 years with the same guys. I tell them not to even. You don't have to look back. Your receiver, the man that you're on, is going to tell you what is happening. Okay. And it's hard to trust that. But 9 times out of 10, if you chase the hip and you play hip and hands, you're going to put yourself in a position to make a play. If I'm looking back and I'm chasing him, okay, and I'm looking, what's happening to me as I'm looking? Naturally. Am I slowing down or am I maintaining speed? What's happening? I'm slowing down, okay? If I'm looking straight ahead and I'm looking at his hip and I'm chasing hip and I can get hip to hip and make him uncomfortable, all right? It's harder to fit a ball in. Stay back up here. It's much more difficult if I'm standing here and somebody's trying to pop a ball in here for me to make a play here as opposed to being in a trail position, you know, a foot to 2 feet and me trying to extend and make a play. All right? My whole goal is to continually stay hip to hip at all times. Yes, sir?
What if the receiver just outspeeds you?
Then you better get on your horse. You just got, yeah, I mean, you got to run. And, you know, little things that can help, okay? if I'm in a trail position, it's a great question. And I know I'm lacking speed, and this guy is faster than me playing and play out. There are little intricacies that you can do as far as like grabbing the hand, and it's like a tug rule. It's like the hot plate rule. Okay, like if you come over to a stove, I mean, you're just going to set your hand on the stove and let it burn? No, you want to come up. If he's cleared me, I'm going to grab his hand and pull it down and let go immediately. But it's going to give me that split second to re-engage to his hip. Now, do I want to sit there and hold him? No. But it's just that hot plate, pop, and it's just barely going to slow him down. But what am I using, though? I'm using my hands, like we talked about. These are your greatest things that you can use. I never want to just not use them and just run with the guy. I mean, why not? I mean, what can you get away with? It's just a slight tug of the hand. That's all it is. All it is. It's just like your, what was the seal technique that you were using earlier up here? You know, like just fighting pressure with pressure. I mean, yeah. I mean, just little intricacies. It's not cheating. It's just pop, slowing him down. Pop, slowing him down. The same thing if I'm jamming. Boom, boom, I'm turning and run. I've got up underneath his hip. Now I'm going to drop my hand and I'm slapping thigh, okay? If I am engaged and I feel him, I'm always slapping his thigh to slow him down, all right? And the referee may come over to you, hey, you're getting, you know, you're a little bit too physical right now. They may say it to you. They may throw a flag. I don't know. But it's just that hot plate rule. Keep boom, off, okay? You can sit down. Yes, sir.
Do you ever get the back shoulder throws?
Yes, and we talk. I mean, I'm the receiver coach as well. We work back shoulders all the time, and back shoulders are very difficult to defend, especially if a corner is in off coverage and you're down on the goal line and he's pedaling out, and as soon as he flips and the quarterback sees that corner flip his hips, and then they just throw that back shoulder, it's hard to defend. That's why, like, if we're down on the goal line, we tend to get more in a press coverage technique. Virtually anywhere between 20 in, 15 in, we'll tell our corners, like if we're in cover 3 and we're normally 6 to 7 yards off pre-snap, okay, we'll walk them up, we'll cut that pre-snap alignment in half inside the 20-yard line. So it just puts them up in their face a little bit quicker. The quick game doesn't come as effective. We're just trying to cut everything in half at that point.
Because for me it's really hard. I mean, to play the fade, the deep fade, when you don't look, you go for the hand. But when he turns and gets almost behind you, if you don't look for the ball, that's hard.
Absolutely. So if you're saying, like, if I'm hip to hip with you and I'm the corner,
yeah,
and ball's back here,
yeah, so I just go like this,
right, and you're just making an adjustment.
yeah.
I mean, that's what Drew Brees has made a living off of, him and Marcus Colston for the past, 8 years or whatever it is. You know, they get down inside the goal line. They're artists when it comes to throwing that back shoulder fade because it is so difficult for that corner to stop and redirect and him make a play on the ball as well. I don't necessarily have a true technique to defend that back shoulder. Are y'all getting eaten up by it or what?
No. I'm just having a hard trouble seeing you even being close to it when you don't look for the ball.
Right.
Because the reason I'm really on my DBs to when you get in a hip-to-hip relation, you need to go like this because you need to see the ball.
You're reading his body language at the same time as well. So, like, if he ever chops his feet or goes to go back, all right, I'm going to sync with him as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
When you get in that running with him, hip to hip, you need to go look for the ball. If the ball is thrown a little bit behind, if you ain't looking for the ball, you ain't going to see it before it's capped.
But if you're also looking at the ball and I'm being disconnected from the receiver and he's way over here and my whole goal is to make the throws as low percentage as I possibly can. And we create that by being on him at all times. So as soon as he identifies his hands or he changes his body posture, then I can whip my eyes around and try to make a play on the ball.
And that's the hardest thing, to stay in leverage and still look for the ball. That's really
exactly.
hard to do,
But like I said, the whole goal is to make high percentage throws as low percentage throws as possible.
That's good.
We want to put an offense in a position where they have to throw difficult balls. The more we can do that, I feel like the better off we are, or give our secondary a better chance to make plays. Keep the yards off the stat sheet. We good on time?
Yeah.
Covered read steps a little bit. Like we said, the 3/4 pop step, that's our first initial step to give us an idea of whether we're reading run or pass. If I'm the deep third safety, which you all run a lot of that cover 3, my first step is always going to be back. Okay, what I don't want to see is just a slow little pedal out. All right, your best friend is to get as much depth as possible to create as much vision as I possibly can. Okay, I want to see the field. I have a great drill that we use. It's called basically peripheral drill. Well, I have 2 receivers and they'll push vertical. All right. Or I'll push one vertical and the guy's got to swivel, open and run and get over top. But our whole goal is for him to start shallow and get deep, 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 deep and see where his threat is coming from. And I'll show you that video if I can get to it here. Not right now, but maybe tomorrow.
So instead of having the safeties deep at the start, you have them for run support more shallow, and then you would drop them deep. Most of the time, like for cover 3, I would rather them be at much greater depth than cover 4. Mm-hmm. Cover 4, and depending on down and distance, cover 4 we're going to pull them up to the line a little closer, anywhere between 10 and 12 yards. Most of the time against 1st and 10, I'll probably tell my guys, hey, put your heels at 12, you know, more of a running down type of distance. So their read steps will be back, but then they can redirect and come up and fill the alley if need be. Safeties, free safety, I'd probably put no shallower than 12 yards if I'm in the middle of the field safety. Pre-snap. Let's see here. There's a 3/4 step. Okay. Whenever you pedal, we talked about things that, as far as false steps and what some of our kids get in trouble with. Whenever they pedal, they do this waddle step where they get outside their framework, or they start really pumping their arms real aggressively and they get outside their body. What I'm trying to get our kids to do is just to be real subtle and silent within your body. So I want to keep my feet up underneath myself, my chest over top of knees over toes, and a nice drum of the elbows and hands, okay, as I get depth. I wish I had, I could probably pull it up here. How much time do I got, Coach? Probably around 5 minutes.
You're good, man.
If we're doing breakouts.
Okay.
Right.
So what we have here, this is something that we did today. So I start every single practice with this same drill. We go stance, and you see chest over top of toes, all right? His butt is up, so he's not closing off his legs. He's got the toe-to-heel relationship. Okay, his eyes are looking down. I'd rather than be up, but his elbows are relaxed and they're somewhat inside the body. I'd like to have his hands up a little bit more. But our first movement, I don't want this clip. See if I can get a better clip here. Okay. First movement from the snap of the ball. Okay, see his arms and how they're like dropping. Okay, we just want just a subtle drum of the hand just to get myself going. He's a little too violent with his elbows and arms. This is our turn at 180 and drive on a line. And then we're going to see Noah here, hopefully. Noah's a little bit more quiet with his hands. You see the difference between him and Dez, the first kid? This is a freshman, okay? He is not as experienced as the others. And you see his hands are a little bit more active. I just want them quiet and inside the body. Some younger guys there, their hands are a little bit too active as well. What happened to that apple we had? I'm used to the Mac.
Keep me on your toes, coach. It's a progression. You have to start with the apple and you work your way up.
Is that the backwards progression you were talking about?
Yeah, we started backwards. Some of you might think it's backwards progression.
Okay.
I hear that's the backwards. Starting back and going backwards.
It sort of gives you an idea of what we're trying to get at as far as the hands are concerned. Piece of paper rule. I don't want your heels flying off the ground. I basically want to mow the grass with the balls of my feet, where I'm not picking them up so much. I want my feet to maintain contact on the ground, so I'm continually pushing back. We covered that.
Coach, if we can just ask one question on that. So what you're saying is essentially the back pedal should be a push and not a, like, you're not going to try to reach and then pull yourself back, you want to push yourself back?
I always say push for grass. Push, 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 push. Leg turnover, leg drive.
Yeah.
I don't want you to reach. I mean, you're still going to reach, but you're not. I feel like when I say reach,
Yeah.
kids start to really extend out and almost kick out, and their heels come off the ground, and they're losing that contact time with the floor. So if I go to redirect and I'm totally extended back, and I go to sink my hips, drop and drive, what tendency or what usually happens is if I'm overextended, what's this foot going to do? It's going to slide out. Okay, so I like to say just push, 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 keep my feet up underneath my body at all times. So I'm continually turning my feet over and pushing with those balls. Whenever you go to redirect, okay, and we talk about a T-stop or a redirection move, you know, I always say put the brake on and drop your foot straight to the ground into a T-stop motion or a 45-degree angle with that foot. So it's either right or boom left. I don't want to extend out because now I'm outside my framework and I'm not as explosive coming out, and all my weight, okay, my feet could potentially slide out, especially if I'm on a wet surface. But I want to be able to boom, drop my hips, recoil like a spring, and explode forward. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
I think the push that you said
Yeah.
is a very good coaching point. That's something I think we could emphasize a lot more, because as you're saying, if you're trying to reach, you end up just getting a huge step,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're actually just slowing yourself down, because you're forcing yourself to be in a bad situation, bad
Now,
position.
if you want to say like your first 2 to 3 steps, if you want to reach, 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 but you want your turnover to continually get faster, faster, faster. So like, I coach sprinters in track, okay? So when we come out of the blocks, and you can sort of compare it to this, our first 20 meters or first 15 meters out of the blocks are longer, powerful strides. And then your foot turnover gets quicker and quicker and quicker, but you're creating momentum for yourself. Same thing in a pedal. I reach, 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 and then I get my feet more up underneath me, pop, 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 open my hips, redirect. Okay, so if you want to reach within those 2 to 3 steps, I'm okay with that, but you're not really redirecting as much in that short amount of space or that box. Pre and post snap alignments, okay, and we talk about cushion. Cushion is defined as how much space I have as a defender, corner, or safety between me and the receiver, okay. Cushion is your best friend as far as the defensive back play is concerned, okay. The more cushion I can create and keep between me and the guy I'm defending, all right, the better off I'll be. The later I can wait to make a decision while defending the pass, the better off I'll be. So it's the defensive back's depth alignment, or their alignment based off the receiver and or coverage. And that's both pre and post snap. So if my distance between the receiver and I is greater than 5 yards pre-snap, I'm going to progressively speed up my pedal as the receiver climbs to me. So at the snap of the ball, I don't want to come out 100 miles an hour and just lose a ton of ground. I want to be under control and get depth, all right, and keep that cushion as much as possible, but I also don't want to bail out 20 yards and him break his route off and I have no possibility of covering. If it's less than 5 yards, and this is more geared towards your corners, you're going to quickly pedal out because you want to get depth as much as possible, faster, okay? Because that receiver is going to eat up your cushion pretty quick because you're not very far from him, and you got to be able to be ready to flip, turn, and run and react. Like I said, maintaining your pedal as much as possible, keeping the receiver in front, stay on top. We talked about the hot stove roll, and another thing, I always want to make the receiver uncomfortable. So stand up here for me. If I'm the safety, okay, and I'm pedaling, and I know he's continually pressing towards me, and he commits to his route, either vertical, or say he goes to the corner or the post, all right? Say you go to the corner here, and I open, okay, I want to close down this area between me and him, all right? So a lot of people think, like, when you turn and open, I just want to maintain my path, all right, and just stay side by side. What can happen, scoot back, I want to impede his progress. I want to make him uncomfortable. So say he commits, I want to stick open, and I want to be on top of his hip and make him run through my shoulder, okay? I want to make him reroute and be uncomfortable to readjust to where the ball is going to be thrown. And if the quarterback sees that, he's going to sit there and double pat it and think that, hey, I'm on top of his route. He's going to have to redirect and come out flatter, and he may throw a bad ball out at you as well, okay? So if you climb, I want to stack and try to split basically down the middle of your body, not keep directly beside you. Does that make sense? Okay.
Should we kind of pause there
Yep.
and go to the recap sessions?
Sound good?